Hello guys, Sunday is supposed to be a fun day, but not when your country is at war. And I feel the need to discuss one very important topic that keeps reappearing in the headlines all over the world, and that is Ukraine and NATO. Will we agree to give up some of our territories for the sake of NATO membership? Is it possible to invite a country at war, and how will Russia react? Honestly, at this moment, I feel there are too many opinions, too many rumors, and unfortunately, too much fear. And I felt the need to analyze lots of internal Ukrainian experts' analysis and the same about external intellectuals whom I respect. And I hope that in this video, I will share this sane, adequate vision of Ukraine NATO future, what is realistic, what is not, what can be dangerous, and what is the thing that we should hope for. And also, this is our weekly update, and I love that during these 7 days, Russian oil depots continued burning, and that is definitely something that I've missed the previous months. And also, a very big arsenal of Russian Cubs was destroyed in Borisovlebsk, and a zoo downed just yesterday. Because, guys, no matter how much we talk about politics, about NATO, the best way to guarantee long-time peace in Ukraine, in Europe, and the world is to defeat and demilitarize Russia. This is our strategy number one. But let's discuss all of these important things further. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Russia defeated and Ukraine joining NATO one day, subscribe. Hopefully we will discuss all of that soon on the channel. And please share the videos on your social media platforms because the world needs de-intoxication from all the fake Russian narratives. And one of the most dangerous, poisonous narratives that Russia spread for decades is that it attacked Ukraine because it could join NATO. No, Russia attacked Ukraine because it wants to restore Soviet Union. And the only reason why Russia hates the idea of Ukraine being a NATO member is that it realizes it cannot fight against NATO. And the moment we enter this alliance, we are lost forever for Russia. It is not about Russia being afraid of NATO and its borders. Just have a look how peacefully and smoothly Finland and Sweden joined NATO. And actually this led to a much longer border of Russia and NATO. And Putin did not have any other option, he simply accepted that. So it's not NATO that is the reason of Putin's fears and attacks. He simply tries to use this time and this opportunity as long as Ukraine is vulnerable, not fully protected, demilitarized by Russia during these years. And that is how he planned the future, to restore the Soviet Union, understanding that Ukraine is a NATO country, the end of Putin's dream, which is good. I know there are lots of fears, lots of things that are quite unpredictable, but at the same time, more and more politicians, more and more military experts start talking about this option that Ukraine joins NATO, and I hate it when some continue sacrificing or giving up some of its territories. This is very wrong to put this way. First of all, NATO consists of countries that protect democracy, and no democratic country would demand from Ukraine to break international laws, to rewrite our constitution and give up our territories to a criminal, war criminal, aggressor, or dictator that will definitely be in prison sometime soon. The only thing what they mean when they say that not all of Ukrainian territories can join NATO is that, for example, that part of Ukraine that is controlled by our legitimate government enters NATO. And temporarily occupied territories we need to return, and the duty to return these territories, literally to fight for them, is not the duty of NATO, but just the duty of Ukraine. This is something that resembles a German model. Unfortunately, this country was divided between the democratic countries, and this western part of Germany joined NATO, and the eastern part of Germany was under the control of Soviets and communist bloc. But on that happy day, in that happy period when two parts of the country united in one, all the Germany became the member of NATO. And that's what some think is likely for Ukraine. Subscribe to see what waits us in the future, and I'm sure this is victory, but hopefully sometime sooner. Because the sooner we defeat Russia and Putin, the easier it is to return back to normal on this planet. So this is what many people started discussing, and they say that even the leadership of the United States seems to be supporting that idea. When is it possible? That is a difficult question, because we all know that the country at war cannot join NATO. Some say rules are there to be rewritten. Maybe. Others say that we need to wait for a moment when this war freezes or something like that. And here we have the greatest trouble, because we all know Putin cannot fight against NATO. Let's be honest. He cannot win Ukraine, which is like many times smaller, with fewer people, with fewer resources. He did not manage to take over Georgia. So let's be honest, Russia only attacks smaller, weaker countries. It cannot fight with all the NATO. It is afraid of that, and Russia's nuclear potential, even that, definitely much, much smaller, almost pathetic in comparison to everything that NATO countries have. So Putin will not fight against them. But then when he realizes that any frozen phase of this war will lead to Ukraine joining NATO, will he ever stop? No. Actually, he does not plan stopping at all, because he's ready to sacrifice millions more of Russians. They have too many people from that perspective. I don't know how they treat human life that, like, with total disrespect. It's something that none of us is able to understand. But he will definitely continue it. So this is another proof why we desperately need to defeat Russia and demilitarize it. The only day when Putin stops this war is when he does not have any resources left to continue. That is the day when this war will end. We can make this day come faster by demilitarizing Russia. And this permission to strike back, this permission to continue neutralizing the oil refineries, the military airfields, is definitely something that is working well. And I'm actually happy to update you on these achievements, military achievements of the week. First of all, these are oil depots that were destroyed in Perm and in Voronezh. I loved it because honestly, I have missed this update, and I was a bit worried that maybe we were asked by our partners to stop doing that, but luckily Ukrainian drones returned to that beautiful work. And if you want to learn more of Russian geography based on the explosions and destructions on their military objects, subscribe, join the beautiful community of our channel, and please let me know in the comments below, do you believe it is likely for Ukraine to enter NATO sometime soon? Plus, it's not only about entering, it's about membership or a plan for membership that also brings specific guarantees. For example, when Finland and Sweden were still waiting to join NATO, they already received some guarantees of security. Of course, every country gets its restrictions, like, for example, no nuclear weapons on the territory. We don't mind, Ukrainians always follow the rules. But for us, it is super important to enter NATO and EU. And if you want to hear this ordinary Ukrainian vision why, well, I realize that both the European Union and NATO are not ideal. Believe me, I see that. I'm not crazy. And I know there will be lots of problems. But it is vital for us to once and forever escape Ruski Mir, escape this Soviet shadow that is still over a big part of Central and Eastern Europe. It is a very important civilizational leap for us. And I'm sure those of you who travel to Ukraine, those of you who watch Ukraine on news, you see that we have a lot in common with you. That we are we belong to your values, civilizational patterns, whatever, and we want to return back home to Europe out of this iron curtain. Please let us in. It's too pricey for us to continue being like a buffering zone. And we are fighting for that with all the resources that we have. We neutralize evil Russian airfields, even Russian cabs, and that was also a news that I loved this week when, after the attack on Russian military airfield in Borisovlebsk, a huge arsenal of their Cubs, and these are guided bombs, was destroyed. And for example, during this month, just imagine that, Russia dropped 800 Cubs on Ukraine. 800 Cubs. Each of these guided bombs weighs 500 kilograms. Just imagine how much destruction they bring us. And karma is working. Most likely Russians shot down their own Su-25 or Su-34. There were rumors it might be the drone Okhotnik, but ashes and smoke, and it's quite difficult to analyze what was that. And there was also ashes and smoke on one of the FSB offices in Novosibirsk, which is quite far away from Ukraine, and it is definitely the work of the Russian people or some sabotage groups inside. And we've learned about some sabotage actions on their railroads. At the very start of the invasion, there were lots of Russian conscription offices on fire, and now they started setting on fire FSB units. And I like it because, Putin is an FSB officer, and maybe sometime soon we will see his bunker on fire. And obviously, Russians are also afraid of the Kerch Bridge party that is coming, because they keep securing the Kerch Bridge with everything they can, underwater, above water, all the air defense are there. So perhaps Ukrainian drones should keep visiting oil refineries inside the Russian Federation, because all the protection is around that Kerch Bridge. And it is super important to destroy it because it is a symbol of Russian occupation. It is the symbol of annexation. It's the bridge that dictator Putin opened himself personally, demonstrating that he can break all the international agreements, disrespect borders, and so on. And actually, the destruction of this bridge will be a message to him and other dictators that your time is limited, very, very limited. And hopefully that the same short period awaits Ukraine until we join NATO and the European Union. Let me know, what do you think about that? Some people say that good news are coming on this Rammstein. As a Ukrainian, I'm not very optimistic because I know how concerned, but at the same time anxious, global decision makers are. And honestly, I think if it were people of the countries to decide, well, maybe Ukraine would have been a NATO member and EU member long ago. But politicians prefer quarreling, doubting, and hopefully still making right decisions, but just a little bit later. Hopefully this later is already coming. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Join me on X, Instagram, and Threads, and Discord. All the links that you need are in the description of this video. Also, we have a good new drop of Halloween collection in our merch shop. And remember that all the caps, sweatshirts, cups, t-shirts work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. And they also tell the story of my country, a bit of our history, a bit of our culture, and a bit about our drones and other weapons. And thank you so much for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. And most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!